That's the nigga who put cocaine in pudding pop, Mr. Cosby.
Oh shit! He said he was the Michael Jordan of crack cookers. That's what he said.
Now we know how Bill got all that money.
But nah, man, this nigga right here. So a lot of people know this nigga from well, really recently from the Vlad interview, which is I was breaking down or whatever I was reacting to, because he told quite a few lies, but this nigga lie a lot, as y'all gonna see. Um,
Liar, liar, pants on fire.
Most of y'all know him from the Cocaine Cowboy 2 documentary, where he talked about his relationship, where he was smashing and allegedly hustling with the godmother, right? So, the thing is, like, I actually know this nigga. Like, we was actually cool. I'll say we was really, really cool for the better part of about 4 years, right? The overall, like, association, whatever, was about 7. So, I was living in Cali, doing my thing and shit, and this nigga hit me up or whatever. I was pushing the new drug game shirt, which we about to bring back, because it makes more sense to do it now than it did back then. He started telling me all this shit or whatever about his, he tied in if I ever heard of Griselda Blanco and all of that, and he started telling me like his relationship with her and the whole night. He sent me, I believe this was the picture that he actually sent, right? So, I had never heard of Shorty. So at the time, the Cocaine Cowboy 2 documentary is not out. Fast forward, so then he tells me, but Cocaine Cowboys 1 is out. So I go out, watch part 1, you know what I mean? I find it, I'm like, oh shit, this is crazy. Like, this is wild, right? So I still ain't seen nothing with him in it because I watched the shit on bootleg. So it didn't have all the extra, clip. But finally I got to see that or whatever. And it was the dude, Al Singleton, who was the homicide detective that was trying to give her the death penalty and shit. He said, you ever heard about Charles Cosby? So then he kind of like, they break a little snippet down and they say Cocaine Cowboy 2 come in, film. So now mind you, this nigga still hadn't met in person yet, even though he only lived 45 minutes from the town where I'm in. You know what I mean? So that shit goes on or whatever. I finally end up meeting this nigga. This is not the picture from the meeting, but just, for the optics. And I finally meet this nigga or whatever with his then wife at the time in the Stockton Mall. I believe we was in front of the J.C. Penney's and shit. And what's funny about it is it kind of lets me segue whatever and shit into a story to remind y'all, remember this face, remember this fuck nigga right here. Because we definitely gonna unpack this nigga shit. Like, this nigga straight bozo. And a PDF file too. Yeah, we got the new clip and everything like that. Fuck Darnell McKinley. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that nigga was with me because the day I met this nigga, remember how I told you, Will, like, I would go, like, I would be out there and sometimes I'd get into some shit, so now I'll come back to New York and chill for a couple months and let that shit, let niggas forget about me.
Yeah.
So this was one of them times and shit like that. In 2007, like, I probably came to New York in August. I stayed until December. I go back to California on December 7th, 2007. And this nigga is like, yo, where you at? So I'm like, yo, I just got off the plane in Frisco. I'm about to go back to Merced. I got to pass through Stockton to get to Merced from San Francisco. So he's like, yo, you should meet me or whatever and join. So me and Darnell, we already in the car. Go and meet this nigga, and that's when he started telling me about, part 2 is about to come out, and all this shit, and that Antoine Fuqua wanted to do a movie on his life. All right. Now, I'm like, oh, all right, that's cool. You know what I'm saying? And he said, yeah, I see you doing your thing with the music. He said, you know, you might have to get you on that soundtrack. I'm like, oh, say the word. You know what I mean? Whatever. I ain't even bought too much into that. You know, niggas done promised me the world before. I was only able to give me 3 city blocks. You see how this shit work? But so you know, so that's the meeting and shit like that or whatever. Me and dude don't even really start kicking it too tough until until actually after I caught my last case out in Cali and shit like that. Cause the nigga was driving me around everywhere. We'll get into that in a minute. Now I actually see the documentary or whatever and shit, but I was kind of late watching it and shit because me and my man we about to get into when we play this phone call. You know, we was doing our own thing, so ain't nobody had no time to be running around, leaving our spot to go to Vegas, do this whole premiere shit. So, dog, moon comes out. Finally, when I watched this shit, one little homie that we got out of town with us, he watching this shit like, well, the nigga like 18, right? As soon as he see the part where they start talking about how she wanted to kidnap JFK Jr. to, like, I guess, ransom him off in exchange for her freedom, the little nigga say, this nigga told.
Nigga.
Like, bro, it was so random. It was just funny as shit. Like, I said, damn. And so, you know, like, bro was breaking it down, like, yeah, he's like, yo, but he said, that ain't our business. He's like, so, you know, whatever. But anyway, I'm looking at this shit weird now because I'm like, all right. But here's the weird shit. I didn't know what was going on with that whole together with the whole thing with the secretary and then like him sleeping with the little secretary bitch. And that kind of blew the whole case into shambles and shit. All right. Now, the thing with Vlad or whatever, like I said in the song, let's go back to. So, you know, me and this nigga end up having a falling out. You know what I'm saying? Like, which I get into like in a minute when I actually play the audio. But the issue was, like, I watched this nigga Vlad interview, and everybody who knows me and this nigga relationship and know that I started doing the YouTube shit, shout out to Royal in the chat. Them niggas know that, you know our history, and they know I know a lot of shit, right? So they're like, yo, you got to do a reaction to the Vlad interview. And I'm like, I said, I don't know, but I'm kind of over, you know what I mean, whatever was going on with that nigga. You know what I'm saying? So I'm leaving this shit alone. So then the chick who I'm on the phone call with that we about to get into, she hit me up saying, yo, you ain't gonna do a reaction to thing. I said, nah, so I'm gonna leave it alone. I said, he's supposed to be trying to be cool. I said, nigga, I said, what up? So she was like, she started telling me like all this like little funny shit. So I'm just like, damn, because I already kind of knew, but I just wasn't gonna put her in the business. You know how it's like you'll know some shit, but you ain't finna tell, you know what I mean, somebody else. But it's like, oh shit,
yeah, they already know.
Like, well, let me really tell you what the fuck is going on, because this shit ain't. So now we start comparing the numbers. So now here's the thing with it. Vlad, we ain't got to get into the whole interview and shit, because I got some niggas from Oakland who will probably pull in and, you know what I'm saying, like at a later date. But in the song I mentioned, I said Vlad asked him about the time when he was snitching to the cops. And all he said what had happened was and fiddled with his watch. And everybody in the comments like, nigga, fix your watch. Y'all heard the shit. So he say he never cooperated. Now the problem with that is, if you go and watch Cocaine Cowboy 2, you'll see that he actually states how he used some little trick words to implicate her because he knew that the phone calls were being recorded in the prison about the Kennedy shit. The next day, they raided his house, right? Now, my understanding, they found a machine gun in the house, right? This nigga on probation. Now, how the fuck is it, whatever, bro? Who the hell get their house raided on a conspiracy to kidnap the son of a former president with a cartel queen pin? And you don't go, your ass ain't held in custody or whatever until they figure out what the fuck is going on? And you on probation, nigga? And they found a gun in your house? Fishy as shit, right?
It's kind of fishy to me. I smell
Now
salt
then,
water.
yeah. So now, then on top of that, in the documentary, you said you were your first line of defense between Kennedy being kidnapped, and you were your last line of defense, and you're not spending the rest of your life in prison, and that you were using the phone call being recorded to show that you didn't want to be involved in this crime. But yet, you flew out to New York with $100,000 and some guns to give to the kidnapper so that they can go and buy their little, shit to blend in and all that other bullshit. So you played a role up until, you supplied them niggas with what they needed to do the job. And the only reason that Kennedy ain't get snatched, bro, is because the police had happened to just be passing by right when they was about to grab the nigga. Because he said that the dog walked up to one of the female kidnappers and sniffed her leg or some shit. That's how close that nigga was to getting grabbed. Right? Now, this is 1996.